So a bit of a confession to those following the Prasad and Associates LinkedIn page. I do not actually log in every day and post a summary of an industry report. I produce those summaries automatically using Zapier and OpenAI. My name's Josh Prasad. I'm an assistant professor of Colorado State University and co-founder of Prasad and Associates. And in both roles, I'm interested in how generative AI might change how we all do work. So today, I'm going to give a brief overview of automating LinkedIn posts using Zapier and OpenAI, the makers of ChatGPT. And just off the bat, this is going to be sort of an overview video. I want to briefly demonstrate what's possible using these platforms, but if you're interested in diving in further, there are plenty of tutorials on YouTube and other places like that. All right, so just to show you what I mean about these regular posts on LinkedIn, if we go to the Prasad and Associates company page, and we scroll down a little bit, we can see that earlier this morning, yesterday, the day before, et cetera, there have been unique posts that provide a summary of an industry report about generative AI. So like I mentioned, the purpose of this video is to show you how I went about putting the system together. But before I do that, if you want a daily summary about an industry report about generative AI, feel free to follow Prasad and Associates on LinkedIn. So the key thing to be aware of is that the content of these posts is being produced by generative AI, specifically using OpenAI. But for those of you familiar with interacting with ChatGPT, you're stuck within a chat interface, and that ability to use generative AI is not connected to any of the other tools that you might use. So one of the ways to connect generative AI to some of these other tools, which is really appealing because it oftentimes involves no coding whatsoever, are workflow automation platforms. The one that I'm going to focus on today is called Zapier. But just to give you a sense that there are multiple products in this space, some folks may be familiar with If This Then That or IFT.com. Make.com is probably the other biggest competitor to Zapier. And then another one that's come out that seems pretty cool is Magical, getmagical.com. But the gist of all of these is that they allow you to map out various automations and carry out those automations without you actually having to log in every day or manually do anything like that. So like I mentioned, I'm using Zapier, and Zapier offers a lot of different functions, but the one that we're going to take a look at for this automated LinkedIn posting is referred to as a Zap. So my Zaps, I'm going to click on my LinkedIn industry reports reporter. Nobody sees the title of these, so it doesn't need to be titled all that well. But when interacting with Zaps, it's nice because they lay out the structure of these Zaps on a nice flowchart like this, so you can see exactly how it works. Given that this is an overview video, I'm not going to go through each of these exhaustively, but I'll at least give a sense of how this all works. But at a broad level, every day this Zap is going to be activated. I have it activated each morning. It's going to look up data that I've included in a Google spreadsheet. It's going to perform some sort of filtering. It will, if it passes the filter, actually send the text from an article to OpenAI for a summary, and then post that summary to LinkedIn. So you can see those 5 steps on screen. So real quick, just starting out, I have an event in my Zap that triggers every day, and I've set it to trigger at 9 a.m. And the reason that this is important is because actions that occur earlier in these Zaps can also produce data that subsequent steps use. So here in the lookup spreadsheet row step from this Zap, I am looking up a value that is a date that comes from the daily lookup step earlier in the Zap. So jumping over to the spreadsheet just to show you what it looks like. Admittedly, I had to kind of tinker with the spreadsheet as I was putting the Zap together to get everything to work, but I'll just show you what I ended up with. I want these posts to go out on a daily basis, and I also kind of want to keep track of what I've posted previously. So I have a posting date. I have the text from a report that I want to summarize, and you'll see a lot of nonsensical text. So this comes from directly copying content from a website. So in copying everything, you get a lot of these additional buttons that don't make any sense. But thankfully, when sending this information to OpenAI, it's able to essentially gloss over this. All right, so I'll give an example of how this works as I go. I've got a Forbes article pulled up that describes how BCG is using generative AI. And I can copy all of the text from the report, Control A, Control C, allows me to copy. And then today is the 19th, so I'm going to go into my cell here and just paste all that text in. So we can see it's from Forbes, how BCG is revolutionizing consulting, et cetera, et cetera. All of the text from that page is now in my spreadsheet for my day of posting. I'm also going to grab the URL that's in my spreadsheet over here. So we got the Forbes spreadsheet. Just to make sure I wasn't duplicating anything, I have a column here that tells me if I've repeated a post. But we are now ready to go for a post, say, that went out today. So going back over to Zapier, things look slightly different because I hit the edit button so that you can actually see some of the changes that I make. I'm going to find a new record for today's date, continue with that. And then just to show a little bit about how using a Google spreadsheet would work with Zapier, I have to identify the app. There are a number of things that you can do with an identified app. So this one I'm going to use look at spreadsheet row. You can log into your various accounts through various apps that you're using. I won't show that right now. But then after logging into Google Drive and saying that I want to look up a specific spreadsheet row as the event, I can navigate through my Google Drive to get to the actual spreadsheet on my drive that has this information. I've called it Gen AI Reports from Industry. And then within that, I can look up the column and then use the date from the everyday portion of this Zap for it to specify, we're looking for the July 19th post. In doing so, it will find the correct row if I retest the step. And apologies for my face being in the way, but we can see now that it's found the report text from Forbes. So I'm going to continue. And then just to limit unnecessary calls to OpenAI and some of the more expensive uses of the model, I have a filter step where I'm making sure that a report text was actually included. So as I showed with the spreadsheet, I am actually manually pasting in the information from these articles. And if there's a day that I didn't paste anything in, or I want to take a break from posting, I don't want to send unnecessary calls to OpenAI. So this filter step is just making sure that there's actually a report to summarize. And if not, then the Zap for the day ends. All right, so after the filter, make sure that there is actually an article to post for that day. We're going to send that article to OpenAI to generate the summary for us. And there are some other setup steps that I'm not going to get into, such as logging in. But moving over here to the actual action, this is the part that might feel like working with ChatGPT. So this is actually a prompt that I'm sending to OpenAI. So below is a report from an organization. Can you make an engaging post? Make sure you're acting as a reporter. Do not assume the identity of the organization. So one thing I'll mention just from playing around with this is that oftentimes the summary will look okay. And then there was actually a day where it was a PwC report and the summary posted presented the summary as if it was acting on behalf of PwC. So it'd say like us at PwC did X, Y, and Z. And, sometimes you'll have to go back and modify your prompt when weird things happen. Here, I've given it some instructions for how to craft the prompt, make sure to tastefully include emojis throughout. And then I wanted it to have some sort of catchy hook, as folks might say, with making posts on social media. And the way that I'm crafting my hook is the first line of the post should create the desire among people in business to learn more about generative AI, but there might be some obstacle in the way. And ideally, a statistic from the report is included in this first line. So in reading over the report, it's going to create this hook line for me. And then from there, provide a summary of the report that would be most relevant to people in business as a separate paragraph. Again, acting as a reporter, do not assume the identity of the company in the report. And then here is where, again, one of the powerful things about an automation platform is that it's pulling data from a prior step and it's using it in the current step. So it's actually taking the entirety of that raw data that I pasted into my spreadsheet. It found the cell that corresponds to the day that this post should go out, and it's feeding that text from the cell into the prompt. So with all of that, it should be able to generate the summary that I want. So I'm going to continue, I'm going to retest the step so that I have that Forbes article. I'll move my face so that you can see it. So here's the prompt, and then we can see here's the summary in a single paragraph, here's the report, and then we can see that it's the Forbes text that we pasted in to the spreadsheet earlier. We'll go continue, and then lastly, we've got the LinkedIn posting part of the workflow. Move my face back, involving logging into your account. And then here, we are actually crafting the post itself. So the first part is the reply from the assistant. So this is actually taking my prompt, the Forbes article text, and then giving me back what I requested, which was the 1-sentence hook plus the 4-sentence summary. In these posts, I want to be able to direct whoever's seeing it to the original article. So from the spreadsheet where I am tracking all of the links to these articles that I want to have summarized, I am feeding that link here so that it goes along with the post. And then I include a call to action to follow the page. So please follow Prasad & Associates if you're interested in stuff like this. And then there are some other things that you can change. We have the post ready to, so just to show this working, here we have the post ready to send to LinkedIn. And here's the text for the post. And we can see that when I hit the retest step, and if we go from Zapier back over to the Prasad & Associates LinkedIn page, we can see that a minute ago, there is a new post that was made. And it is the summary of the Forbes article. And in that Forbes article, Boston Consulting Group was the organization of interest that they're reporting on. And they describe how they're revolutionizing consulting with AI, et cetera, et cetera. You want to learn more, you can go there and follow Prasad & Associates for more updates like these. And so that is how those posts go out on a daily basis. Like I mentioned, this is meant to be more of an overview video, so I intentionally didn't go through every single step. But if you're interested in building something like this on your own, like I said, there are lots of tutorials on how to use Zapier, both on the Zapier website, but then also on YouTube. If you're interested in me developing a tutorial like this to show you exactly how I put this together, feel free to send me a message on LinkedIn or leave a comment wherever you're seeing this. Just let me know that that'd be useful. And if you're a leader of a people-focused consultancy and you're interested in how generative AI might help enhance the work that you do, feel free to send me a message on LinkedIn. I'd be happy to chat about what opportunities may exist there. So with that, hope you found this helpful, and I will see you in the next one.